A little while ago, I started noticing this wing kind of all over the place. However, there wasn't too much information online. People definitely fly it like a speed wing, but it has kite risers. Some soar it in high winds, some launch in the mountains. It looks intuitive, but really fast too. So, as a fan of parakites and a very, very, very amateur speed flyer,
that was fast.
I was definitely interested. I found the wing, reached out to the brand.
That is again part of that reflex.
And it took me nearly 3 months to complete the video. Because I am... lazy. Anyways, here we are. Enjoy.
That was cool.
To be completely honest, when the wing first surfaced, I thought it's just another attempt to kind of ride on a hype wave and repeat Flair's success with Mustache and the line. But then, this happened. And it got me curious. What is it that makes it better than the other wings? What's the tech behind it? Why do we not hear or see a ton from the manufacturer? And the main one, is this the new revolution? Why, or like what is the reason for you guys not to put a reflex profile on this wing while using kite risers?
Yeah, so this is actually a really interesting subject, right? And there's probably some opinions out there as to, reflex versus non-reflex. And there's also, what I've noticed, obviously, with the first generation of these Parakite wings is that they are reflexed from the get-go. There is a really good reason for that, and that's because of the inherent stability that you get with the amount of range, with the amount of trim range that you can accomplish. The one crux to that is that there's a tremendous amount of drag in that equation. And so what that does is it reduces the available roll response you can get. And so some ways to mitigate that is to improve the arc, maybe lower the aspect ratio, whatever else. But when you start lowering the aspect ratio, the drag component becomes very obvious. And then the glide performance starts to sacrifice tremendously. We basically looked at it from our perspective from designing skydiving parachutes, which is something we do well, which is we design stuff that's able to go steep and fast and still remain responsive. And so that's why we went away from the reflex. Now, there's a trade-off to that, right? Which is it doesn't have that incredible foolproof pitch stability. So when you're kiting the wing, if you reach up and pull on the fronts, you can get it to collapse like you could any sort of mini wing or any paraglider while kiting. And the trade-off to using a profile that we designed specifically to be on kite risers, that's the difference. So we didn't just take a paraglider, put kite risers on it. We designed the profile for the kite risers, just like the reflex companies. The companies have done that are using reflexes, those wings as well too. And so we did a bunch of basically CFD analysis on profile designs and looked for a profile that had a low pitching moment, or essentially as a neutral pitching moment. Still had lower drag component when you're moving a little faster and at certain angles of attack. And so we found something, and after a few iterations had something that was pretty magical. What that means is all the inherent stability that you get from a reflex in flight. You don't have that kiting, of course, but of course, if you can just think of like mini wing kiting, keeping a little brake pressure, it's not an issue.
Yeah.
And then when you go out and fly it, the big thing you'll notice is the responsiveness. It's a lot more roll responsive in all flight modes, whether you're going fast or you're going slow.
Okay, what I've learned so far. The fluid R&D logic is we ditch reflex, we drastically improve roll response because of that. We reduce drag, we sacrifice a little bit of the kiting stability, but the stability in flight is still good because of this profile that was designed specifically for working with kite risers. And we also pretty loaded. Time to test it out. I like the fabric too. Hey, actually, what's her name?
Nico.
Nico, okay. How long have you been flying this?
3 days, I guess.
3 days, great. How long have you been speed flying for in general?
2 months, like slowly getting into it, yeah.
Sick. That's an 18, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel in it?
Great. Yeah, I got it because it seems like parakites you can soar, and depending on how they're designed, you can haul ass. And so figured I'd eventually size down to smaller speed wings one day, but I felt like I could get longer utility out of this even when I go to size down.
Okay, first impression for a 14, looks kind of tiny. Quality is definitely on point. It's cool. I have a feeling this thing's gonna be fast. Ooh! No way in hell this has happened. Why? Every time I'm trying to kite in front of a girl, this happens. Oh my god, they're so far. Way to embarrass myself in front of the world's coolest speed flyers. Woo, it's fast. Okay, it definitely doesn't feel like a typical 14. More like a conventional 11. Okay, so my impression of a 14, launch was incredibly easy, and aside from my kiting mistake, ground handling is pretty good too. When Kevin said that it handles worse than reflex parakites, I was expecting like terrible kiting, but it was great. It felt just like any other speed or mini wing, very lightweight, comes up super easy, handles super well, and has kite risers, which is what I'm used to. So yeah, that one is good too. Speed-wise, it's really fast for a 14. Honestly, I was expecting much less, and it feels more like a conventional 11, 12. Definitely not a regular 14 that you have in mind. I like how it handles in turns and how it handles the load, but you can hardly call that flight a roll response test because there's no rolls involved. So I decided to travel to Seattle and give it to my friend, who's really good at that stuff. See what he does with it. I decided to try this line for myself first, but I can tell you those tree gates look very intimidating.
I did both, mostly forwards with the 12 and a few reverses with the 16. And I found, particularly with the forward launches in the 12, like launch characteristics to be pretty impressive. You know, comparing to what I've been used to with like a line or a mustache, it's got a very predictable, very responsive and manageable launch characteristics, which is pretty confidence inspiring.
All right, so what can you say about the available dynamic range and the roll response so far?
It'd be comparable to, I think, people who are used to flying on like the R3X, flying on rears. It's like that dynamic range, you know, times two. I think it doesn't quite have as much range as, like, say, a line, but from a speed wing pilot, looking for a wing that flies just like a speed wing but has more dynamic range, I think that the Odin is a very good wing for that, and very intuitive to fly. I felt right off the bat the roll rate on the Odin 12 very intuitive, very quick. It felt very similar rolling the Odin to rolling a conventional speed wing.
Sick. Second question. What pilot would you give this wing to?
Intermediate advanced, trending towards advanced speed wing pilot. If they're flying like a 9-meter conventional speed wing, be very at home on the 12-meter Odin. If they're in the 13 to 15 range, probably being comfortable on the 16 Odin.
Well, let's talk landings.
As with most of these kite riser wings, swoops are phenomenal and infinite. I mean, the thing just goes and goes and goes. Where it becomes less awesome is tighter landing areas. I think the Odin doesn't do super well at slowing itself down. Like, you really kind of gotta bleed off all that energy. Its stall is pretty low, and when it does go, it just kind of stalls and dogs out behind you. I think it's to be expected.
That does have a low stall point. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was surprising, but it's certainly something to be cognizant of. And in flight, at no point did I feel like I was digging too deep. The wing communicated effectively. It's just on that landing, being able to kind of dig into the brakes and bleed off some speed on like a Mustache or a Mohawk or a flare line or something. Your window to do that is much narrower on the Odin, and before it just dogs out and stalls behind you.
I'm pretty sure Kevin mentioned that. It is for sure a trade-off.
With reflex, you can also some of the newer reflexes, you can get a little bit more of a pronounced kind of flare at the end. Whereas with the profile we're using, it does the drag bucket kind of spikes really quickly, and then the wing kind of just stalls off before you kind of get that last little bit of flare that some people are looking for. So it's a little faster on the landing. So if the pilot is willing to know that the wing lands a little faster and just gives themselves a little margin and a nice landing area, the trade-off is incredible response in the air, right? So it starts to bridge what I think maybe coming down the line, who's to say, but kind of going into speed wing territory with these Parakite risers. Now, we're not quite fully there yet, where we have the responsiveness and the agility and the precision that modern speed wings have with these Parakites, but we've definitely narrowed that gap with the Odin. So,
what a crazy couple sessions I've had in Seattle. I recommend everybody to go fly Tiger Mountain. Shout out to Nolan. Without him, I would absolutely not be able to push this size of Odin this far. He's got a ton of time on R3AX on this exact line, and he was able to test them pretty much face to face in this crazy tree gates. What a beast of a pilot. Anyways, it's time to hit the next spot where I feel way more confident and competent, and finally test the larger size of Odin and Soaring. For that, we hit the Some people call this place a paradise, and I don't blame them. As a pilot, it's as close as you can get. No struggling through strenuous early hiker flights. No fighting with thermals and hang glider pilots. No crappy LCs in the middle of nowhere and 6-hour walks of shame. We all love that struggle, but sometimes you just gotta take the van out to the sand, grab a freezing cold drink with your friends, kite up the dune, and send it. far as I know, Fluid doesn't advertise Odin as a full-on Dune wing, but oh boy did I have some fun. Unparalleled response lets you play with stabbies and foot drags infinitely. Steeper trim penetrates through any kind of wind. You have more than enough stability to feel good in any gust the ocean air has to offer. By the end of the week, it might have been the most fun I had in a while, even though the Odin was made for the mountains and does excellent in classic speed flying. Making this video so far was really easy and chill, and I intentionally decided not to push myself very hard for it because, you know, getting hurt for making a YouTube review might be one of the most stupid things you can do with your life. But I still want to grow and still want to get out of my comfort zone here and there. There was one reason to do that. Odin 12, the smallest size of the factory production, because there is still a 10 prototype, but out of the main lineup, 12 is the smallest. And after flying 14, I realized that this thing is going to be very fast. Kevin and Sarah, who's working for Fluid, both warned me that the difference in between 14 and 12 is drastic and much bigger than the difference in between 16 and 14, for instance. 14 was plenty fast for me. I decided that if I go with Odin for my future flights, this will be the smallest size, but I still want to try 12 at least for a couple of runs. For that, I decided to find, first, a coach, second, a place where you would have a really good launch, a really good long landing without any obstacles, and a steep terrain with no trees. There are two places like this that come to mind. Right now, I'm in my camper on Lake Chelan, and hopefully today I get myself together and fly the 12. That was fast. Is the key inside?
It's running.
Next up, I gave it to Ian, the guy who coached me for the first flight. All right, how was it? Is it?
Yeah.
Like how fast?
Oh, dude, I stayed on the train all the way until I pulled up. Sick. For sure.
Is it faster than your 8 meter?
Yeah, it's pretty quick, and it holds its dive, which is really nice. Yeah.
How's launch?
Launch was good. Like I felt, it took a second to kind of feel it out, and then once I knew it was there, it was good.
Yeah, the range on that wing is pretty insane. But yeah, unlike most parakites, it's considering it more like a speed kite. It's basically speed wing with kite risers. You can soar it. You can definitely soar it. You know, as of right now, all we have is up to the 18 meter. We are gonna probably build something bigger, but
Which is amazing.
yeah, I would honestly, I have no problem handing it to a no pilot. I don't think you need to have a crazy amount of experience. The kite risers, specifically with that wing, is you have that pressure that you're used to. It's a little bit different, just the T-handles and all that. But that is such a perk of the Odin. It can handle a ton of wind, and it just comes up smooth as butter. You're not fighting with it at all. It is by far, I think, almost the easiest wing in our whole lineup to kite.
So after 3 months with Fluid Odin, what can I say? This is a fast, very agile, and very capable mountain wing. Is it my favorite speed parakite? For the right use case, which is zero wind launches, classic speed flying, and long swoopy landings, absolutely. Is it perfect? No. No product is perfect, but I personally agree with the trade-offs that Fluid went with. Another thing to consider is I visited their facility, peeked at the R&D plans, and I can confirm that these guys are definitely in a constant search of improvements, which is pretty awesome. Should you get a Fluid Odin? If you have the use case, absolutely. If you enjoyed the video, please be active. It helps me gain legitimacy and get more wings from different brands to review. Please don't teach yourself to fly speed wings, don't teach yourself to fly parakites. Find a legit school, finish a course, and you'll be just fine. See you in the next one.
And wish you don't believe.